Welcome back to High Courts, where we dive into the wildest, funniest, and most jaw-dropping stories the internet has to offer. Today, we're taking a trip down the chaotic rabbit hole of Reddit, where drama knows no bounds and the audacity levels are sky-high. First, let's start with this case. I, 29F, am married to a wonderful man, 30M, who is also the brother of my best friend. There is a significant height difference between us, as I am 6'6", and he is 5'7". His entire family tends to be on the shorter side, which required some adjustments to our living arrangements initially. However, we eventually figured out what worked best for us. We realized early on that it was more practical for him to use a step stool to reach items in the kitchen, rather than for me to constantly crouch to get what I need, as that quickly becomes uncomfortable for me. This arrangement worked perfectly until my mother-in-law came to stay with us 2 weeks ago. She needed temporary accommodation while her roof underwent repairs. Since my husband and I had a spare room and my best friend did not, it made sense for her to stay with us. However, she has been persistently rearranging items in our kitchen, lowering things to avoid using the step stool. This is not due to concerns about her age or fear of falling. She simply does not want to use it. She repeatedly comments that having everything placed so high is inconvenient and inconsiderate to guests. My husband has consistently defended our setup, explaining that my comfort is a priority over hypothetical visitors and asking her not to move things. She typically lets the matter rest for a day, only to reorganize everything again the following day. I expressed my growing frustration to my husband, but the final straw came today. When I went to make myself a coffee, I couldn't find my coffee mugs anywhere. After searching for 5 minutes, I finally discovered them in a lower cabinet that required me to kneel to retrieve them. This irritated me greatly, as kneeling aggravated my back. I snapped at her and told her that if she couldn't refrain from rearranging our kitchen, she should consider staying in a hotel, as I'd had enough of her disregard for our boundaries. This led to her becoming emotional, insisting she was only trying to make the kitchen layout more logical. She argued that this was her son's home too, and that it was unfair for everyone to suffer because of my height. She also accused me of being heartless for suggesting she stay in a hotel, especially during the holidays. My husband was visibly uncomfortable and didn't want to upset his mother, but he stood his ground. He calmly reminded her that this is both his and my home, and if she couldn't respect my comfort and happiness, she would need to leave. She retreated to the guest room, and I can still hear her crying. My husband is clearly upset and anxious about the situation, but he hasn't wavered in his support. I feel terrible that my reaction has caused him stress, and I'm wondering if I should have approached the issue more gently. While I don't feel particularly sorry for upsetting my mother-in-law, I hate seeing my husband in this state and can't help but wonder if I should have just endured her behavior. Let's start judging. You're not in the wrong. You stood up for yourself and gave a fair warning. I believe you've been quite patient. I appreciate that your husband is uncomfortable, but so be it. Sometimes life is uncomfortable. She had plenty of opportunities to stop complaining and to stop moving things around before you drew this line. Express appreciation for your husband and just let her sit with it. TBH, I'd be wondering about past interactions with her. She seems to almost take offense to your height somehow, and I wonder if anything has ever come up about your fit with your husband, the optics of such a statuesque person or whatnot. People are weird. You're not in the wrong. The house belongs to you and your husband, so stuff should be arranged however the two of you agree it should be arranged. And MIL needs to be grateful she has family with the capacity to take her in during her roof repairs. Since your main concern is how this is affecting your husband, maybe the two of you should have a date night or something and get away from his mom for a few hours. Do you know how my mom survives something very similar when her short self visits my average height self and tall husband? She checks which mugs and glasses are our favorites. She then chooses her own favorites from the leftover options and each time puts 1 coffee mug, 1 water glass, and 1 wine glass in our bowls cupboard. Zero hassle for any of us, and saves her stretching for the drinkware, as it's on the top shelf. You're not in the wrong. and anyone who's still crying over a reasonable reprimand is a drama queen who can be ignored until they calm themselves down. Next up, I 30 had surgery earlier today. 6 months ago, I gave birth to a baby, and there were complications that couldn't be addressed at the time. This surgery was to resolve those issues. I was the first surgery of the day, which the nurses mentioned multiple times. After my procedure, I was taken to my observation ward to recover. About an hour later, a new roommate, a woman who appeared to be in her 40s, was brought into the room. Before she arrived, I had been watching TV shows on my iPad with the volume turned up. Once she came in, I immediately switched to using my AirPods as a courtesy. Later in the afternoon, my husband brought our baby to visit me. It was a lovely moment, but as soon as they left, my roommate struck up a conversation. I wanted to be polite, so I chatted with her for about 30 minutes. Afterward, I apologized and explained that I needed to cut the conversation short so I could take a nap. However, she became visibly annoyed and called me selfish for wanting to rest. When I woke up from my nap, my roommate was no longer there. I called for pain medication, and the nurse commented that I must have said something to upset her. Apparently, while I was asleep, she had demanded to be moved to another room. The nurse also suggested I should be kinder with my words, which caught me off guard. I don't think I was rude at all. I just needed to sleep to recover. While the medications I'm on might be making me overthink this, I still feel awful about the situation. Let's start judging. You're not in the wrong. Why are you even entertaining a thought about how some busybody you'll never meet again feels about you? You're not in a hospital to make friends, but to get well. Ignore the nurse as well. She had one side of the story from the victim, who probably painted you as the idiot. You're not in the wrong. At all. I'd probably speak to the supervisor about the nurse's comments. While I'm sure they were well-intended, they were completely inappropriate. Hope you're feeling better. You're not in the wrong. You're in recovery from surgery, not at a bar, lol. Your roommate sounds like my mom. I'm sorry, get some rest, and here's to a full and speedy recovery. Next up, 2 years ago, I adopted an African gray parrot who had suffered from neglect. It took a lot of time and patience to earn her trust, but now she is the most loving and affectionate bird in the world, though I may be a bit biased. She's very popular with my friends and loves the attention and company, which is important since African gray parrots are incredibly intelligent and require constant stimulation. One of her favorite activities is singing along to Disney songs, something I happily indulge whenever she indicates she wants to hear them. Recently, I discovered that a friend had secretly filmed some of these sing-alongs and uploaded the videos to her YouTube channel without my knowledge or consent. I only found out because I was looking through her channel for an old video from a night out with a mutual friend who had passed away. To my surprise, I stumbled upon 6 videos of my parrot singing. The discovery made me uncomfortable. It felt exploitative, especially given my parrot's history of neglect and the effort it took to help her feel safe. I confronted my friend about this, explaining how it felt wrong to me. She dismissed my concerns, saying it was harmless and that sharing cute moments like these was a nice way to document them for the future. I pointed out that if her intentions were truly innocent, she wouldn't have hidden the videos from me. I asked her to take the videos down, but she refused. At that point, I told her I didn't want her back in my home until the videos were removed, as I no longer trusted her not to take more footage without my permission. She argued that I was overreacting because it wasn't harmful to my bird and claimed it wasn't like she was exploiting a child. Since then, she has refused to remove the videos and told mutual friends that I'm being unreasonable. While most of them agree with me that it's odd and inappropriate for her to upload the videos without my knowledge, a couple of friends think I'm overreacting because it's just a bird. Now, I'm questioning if I handled this situation poorly. Was I too harsh on her? Am I overreacting? Or are my concerns justified? Let's start judging. I do think it's an overreaction to think someone filming something your pet is doing they think is cute is exploiting them, like their previous abuse, insinuating that in your comment is not okay at all. They are not the same or even similar whatsoever. However, it is your pet, and if you're uncomfortable with them posted on a public platform, that is completely fair enough to set a boundary due to the fact you don't like it. Some people like to post their lives online, some don't. I haven't posted on most of my social media profiles in years. I like privacy. Tagged photos at events, etc. are unavoidable, really, and I don't care much. But a photo of your pet in the privacy of your own home when you have said you don't like it is pretty intrusive. If they can't understand that they aren't a real friend, the bird has no conception of being put online or being exploited. The way you think about this bird is kind of unhinged. What you should be uncomfortable about is people filming in your house without your permission. Not some weird notion that the bird is being exploited and having her trust violated. I'm going to go against the grain here and say you need to be more reasonable. If my friends filmed my pet, I wouldn't expect them to ask first. I don't think animals have a reasonable expectation of privacy, regardless of their past. They don't understand being filmed, nor will they face any consequences for being on the internet. If she's your friend, you should be assuming the best of her. I doubt she did this with bad intentions or sneakily. It sounds more like she just didn't think to ask because she didn't think it would be a problem. Next up, I, 22F, have wanted a German Shepherd since I was a little girl. Growing up, my mother was a strong advocate for adopting pets rather than purchasing them, which was great in principle, but challenging for me since I dreamed of having such a specific breed. Now that I live with my high school sweetheart and long-term boyfriend, we recently decided to make my dream come true. After a lot of research, we found a reputable breeder and bought a beautiful little female puppy for a substantial price. I named her Constance, and she quickly became my pride and joy. 2 weeks ago, my boyfriend and I had to leave town for 3 days to visit his grandmother, who was gravely ill. I asked my older sister, 28, to care for Constance while we were away. I offered to pay her $15 per day to feed, water, and take Constance outside. We expected there might be accidents, but we had a plan in place to minimize them. My sister agreed, and we checked in with her daily while we were gone. When we returned home, excited to reunite with Constance, we discovered she was gone. Panicked, I called my sister, who immediately broke down and confessed that she had taken Constance with the intention of selling her. She accused us of being negligent owners, but I was devastated. It felt like all the trust I had in her was shattered. Without hesitation, I drove to my mom's house, where my sister has been staying, and demanded Constance back. Thankfully, I was able to retrieve her. I then told my sister that if she ever came near my home or tried anything like this again, I would call the police. Since then, I have cut off contact with her. However, my parents think I overreacted. I'm unsure what my sister told them, but they seem to believe I'm the one in the wrong for threatening legal action. My younger brother is indifferent but agrees I may have been too harsh. On the other hand, my boyfriend and friends support me fully. I'm heartbroken because my family means a lot to me, and I'm struggling to process their reaction. Did I overreact? Could I have handled this situation better? Edit and update. To clarify, I've never mistreated Constance or deprived her of food, water, shelter, or veterinary care. Leaving her with my sister during an emergency was a mistake, and I acknowledge that. I've already started researching better ways to care for her and ensure such a situation doesn't happen again. However, my sister's actions weren't about protecting Constance, they were about her own gain. She has a gambling issue and wanted money. This wasn't about concern for my dog's well-being, and I won't excuse her behavior. To those questioning my dedication to Constance, please understand that I love her deeply and am committed to being a better owner moving forward. This was a learning experience, but I believe my sister crossed a major boundary. Let's start judging. You're in the wrong, and your sister should have contacted the authorities on you. You asked her to check on the dog once per day when you were gone for 3 days? That is negligent behavior. It's probably a good thing you didn't call the police because that would have likely ended in you at least getting a citation. I get that dogs are considered property, but morally you were wrong on all counts. You're in the wrong and not at all ready for a GSD puppy. Do you even walk this dog? Give it any sort of enrichment? Or do you just love how they look and that it's so fluffy? German Shepherds are working dogs and need a ton of exercise and to be challenged. The fact that you thought the puppy would be fine for 3 days by itself without even basic contact shows you to be a terrible pet owner. Your sister was right to take the dog from you. You're not in the wrong about getting mad at your sister saying she was going to sell the puppy. You are an idiot leaving a puppy alone for 3 days. You need a dog sitter, or you need to board the dog. A puppy cannot be alone except for 15 minutes a day for 3 days. That is cruel, and she is right that you were negligent.